Yes, so this morning we're going to do loving kindness meditation, metta, bhavana. And this is, as I keep saying, this is a very radical meditation. It can change the world. We can change ourselves, certainly, very, very, very much. We can become kinder and therefore much happier, kinder to ourselves, kinder to other people, and more content with the world because of that, because we're more positive. But it also changes those around us in some magical way, and it changes those around us, pass it on to the people around them. So it's a contagious, infectious kind of practice that really has got the power to change the world. And if enough of us do it, then we can change the world. So I've got a poem here that I've read before, I think, but it really sums it up. And it's by an American activist called Paul Williams, a social activist. I think he was probably a hippie. He's dead now, but he wrote this very long poem about his aspirations for the world, and this is just a section of it. And I love it. I think it sums up what my aspiration for the world is. It's called common sense, which it is, basically. We have been born into a moment of unprecedented danger and opportunity. Our failure to act is itself a choice. There is nowhere to hide from this awareness. It is time. Our purpose here is to build a bridge. The purpose of the bridge is to span the distance between our present situation and our vision of a better world. The beauty of the bridge is that once it is in place, anyone can walk on it. A few people can build a bridge and can be walked on by many. So I think that's great. I mean, I think he wrote this about the time of the Cold War, Cuba crisis and all that, I suspect. I don't know. But it's even more relevant today with all that's going on in the world, the wars and the global warming and the hatred and the falling out amongst nations and people. And we have the power to build a bridge. It starts with us. It starts with the individual. So I think this practice is so important and such a refreshing start to a day to do this and to set out in the next phase of our lives from now onwards to spread a little kindness in the world and to help just pour balm on these angry flames that the world that are engulfing the world. And if we can do that, it helps us because we can be more positive. We can be less anxious. We're actually doing something, and it helps other people in the same way, and it spreads positivity and hope. So we'll just get on with it, shall we? Instead of me talking anymore. But this is I do like this poem, and we're going to actually have this poem outside our Buddhist centre, all being well, so that we can spread the message to the world. Okay, so get comfy. Let's get into our meditation postures, and even if it's lying in bed, just making sure we're comfortable. Just relaxing as much as we can. If we've started to think about our day, just letting those thoughts go. Just being here as much as we can right now, right in this moment. and this moment, and this moment. Feeling the contact with the floor, contact with the bed or the floor or the cushion or the chair. And feeling the weight of the body pressing down on whatever was sitting or lying on, and just allowing yourself to let go of that. What we're sitting or lying on will hold us very well. We don't need to do anything. So just allowing your weight to be taken. Just letting go. Noticing how you are. Just doing a quick check of your mental, just how you are mentally, mental state, your emotional state, and your physical state. What's going on for you right now? So your mind could be settled or in some turmoil. You could be feeling peaceful or stirred up in some way. You could be very comfortable in your body or a bit achy. Maybe there's some other sensations going on. But whatever's going on, mentally, emotionally, physically, tuning into it with kindness. And just knowing that this is how it is. This is where we're starting from. And there's no point in getting into a battle with it or a conflict. It's just the way it is. So accepting that with a sense of loving kindness towards our minds, our emotions, and our bodies. And bringing our attention to the breath in the body, in the upper chest, the upper body expanding and contracting as we breathe in and breathe out. Nice steady rhythm, quite comforting if we're relaxed. So moving down to the bottom of the rib cage in the center, at the front of the body, just behind here, locating, if we can, the heart center. Just above the diaphragm. So when we breathe in, You might feel a pleasant feeling. You might even feel a warm feeling. Or you might not. If you can't feel that, just bring to mind somebody that you really, really love. A friend, a relative, a child, or a pet, and see what happens in this area. You might notice a sense of well-wishing, a warmth, a benevolence, very, very pleasant feeling. Or you might not. If you don't worry about it, just relax and stay open to the possibility that you might notice something. Not trying too hard with this. If you can feel a warmth, just allowing it to grow, not forcing it, just being with it, being immersed in it as much as you can, and it will naturally spread. So in the first stage of this practice, we're going to bring a reflection on ourselves, bring ourselves to mind. We usually have quite a complex view of ourselves, because we are, after all, complex people. So there would be bits of ourselves that we like, and bits that we don't, bits that we actually really dislike. And some of them we can change, and some of them we can't. But to constantly be in conflict with ourselves over the things we don't like creates a lot of suffering for us. It takes away our peace and contentment, and it stops us being a loving person to the extent that we could be. So what we're trying to do with this practice is, we're not trying to change our negative patterns instantly. We're just trying to bring them into the open. Just really coming to terms with the bits we don't like of ourselves, and resolving to be kind to the bits that we can't change, and aspiring to change the ones we can. And realizing we can't force change, we can't make it happen. All we can do is see where we want to go. And magically, we will go there. But it all all this change, this positive change, depends upon a sense of kindness to ourselves. So can we accept all the bits that we don't like about ourselves? Can we bathe them in a sense of loving kindness? Aspire to accept what we can't change with good grace, and to change what we can as time goes on. So wishing ourselves well, taking care of ourselves. In the second stage of this loving kindness meditation, we're bringing to mind a really good friend. Probably not a relative or anybody who's we don't really know very well, not a celebrity. Bringing to mind just a good friend, somebody who is a good friend to us. Somebody who we really care about, and bringing them to mind as an image, or just, if we can't do the image, a sense of them, just a sense of them maybe sitting with us, sitting next to you, enjoying your company. And just noticing how that feels, particularly in your heart center. And we might reflect that this person who you love dearly also feels that there are good bits and bad bits about themselves. And they too suffer by not wanting the bits that they don't like. And you might recognize that they're not perfect, but you accept them for how they are. They're your friend, you love them. And with all their peculiarities, they're okay. So our friend is very much like ourselves, going through the same processes of mental anguish over their lives, causing themselves suffering when they don't feel up to being in the world as they would like. So can we see the suffering that our friend causes themselves, just like the suffering that we cause ourselves? And can we be there for them? Can we wish them well in their lives? So we're going to let our good friend go for the moment, and we're going to bring to mind a relative stranger, someone that we see quite often, but we don't really know. It could be just somebody we pass in the street. It could be a bus driver, somebody in a shop. It could be a friend of a friend or a neighbour. So bringing them to mind, and noticing how you feel in the body, in the heart center particularly. When you see an image of them or just get a sense of them in your imagination. So it may be that you feel something for this person, or it's quite likely you just feel indifference, that it's very hard to have a sense of loving kindness towards a stranger. And even if you can to this stranger, it's perhaps more difficult with other strangers that you know even less well. And that's okay. That's just how it is. That's what we do. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's interesting, isn't it, that we don't automatically feel a sense of loving kindness to strangers. Not usually, anyway. So to connect with them, we might reflect that this stranger that just seems a bit like a two-dimensional cutout, maybe. This stranger is so much like us. They too wish that they were more perfect than they are. And that the world was a lot more comfortable to be in. That things went the way they wanted them to go. So just like us, they cause themselves suffering by wanting to be more perfect, by trying to push away things they don't like. And it causes them pain. There's a real connection between us there. So can we just bring a sense of kindness to our view of this stranger? Can we wish them well? So let the stranger go for the moment, and we're going to bring to mind somebody who we don't get on with, somebody who we just feel uncomfortable around, or that we've had a bit of a tiff with. Nothing too strong. If we've really fallen out with somebody, that's probably not appropriate, too hard. But just somebody who we just feel uncomfortable with. We don't like to be with them. We might try and avoid them, or we would avoid them if we could. And just noticing when you bring them to mind as an image or a sense of them sitting beside you, noticing how that feels in the body. So you might find there's a tightness in the body, a tenseness, a stiffening up, or a heaviness in the belly. Your breath might become slightly less easy. So that's okay. That's perfectly normal, and there's nothing wrong with it. But isn't it interesting how we cause ourselves suffering in this way? Our habit of not wanting to be with somebody, of not liking them, creates physical as well as mental suffering. Maybe quite subtle, but it's still there. So first thing is to just see this and accept it. Just have a sense that we do cause ourselves suffering by our sense of not wanting to be with somebody, not liking somebody. So we can counter this with loving kindness. We can stop ourselves suffering to the same extent. So we don't have to like this person. We don't have to suddenly become their best friend or even a friend. We don't have to change our idea of them in any way. All we have to do is to wish them well in spite of how we see them. To recognize our own suffering when we bring them to mind or when we're with them. And to have a sense of them as human beings going through very much what we go through, causing themselves suffering, not liking themselves in certain ways, creating pain for themselves. Can we see that they too feel that in some ways their lives are unsatisfactory? And can we have a sense of kindness towards them for that? A sense of goodwill that they might be happier, even though we don't get on with them. And in the final stage, bringing all 4 people together. Just noticing them, all 4 of them, 4 very different people. And seeing if we can have a sense of loving kindness towards each of them equally. And just reflecting that if we can do this, we not only ease our own suffering, our own conflict with the world and with ourselves, we also spread a little more kindness out into the world. Then opening our hearts to everyone who's been meditating with us this morning. We're all very different in some ways, but in many ways we're all the same. We have the same things going on. We have the same reactions and judgments. So can we wish each other well? Wish each other happiness. And then can we open our hearts even more to the whole world, to all living beings in the world, humans, animals, birds, water creatures, even reptiles and insects, no matter how small or how big. Just wishing all beings well, radiating as much loving kindness as we can to them and to the world itself. This beautiful world that is under so much pressure. Just bathing all beings and the whole world in our loving kindness. Well, thank you for your company this morning. Just a reminder that we'll be in the museum gardens tomorrow morning at 11:15. If you live around York, it'd be great to see you there. Just bring something to sit on. And we'll do meditation at 11 o'clock to about 11:30. And if you can't make it to York, because you live a long way away or you're just busy, then we'll also be online, and there'll be a recording of that as well. So we'll be online just before 11, all being well, if the technology works. So you could join us that way. But it'd be great to see you in the gardens themselves, if you can make it, or failing that, online. So maybe see you then. I'll be back at 8 o'clock in the morning with mindfulness and breathing tomorrow, and then I'll be back at 11 o'clock. No, I won't actually. I won't be back at 11 o'clock this morning. I'm away, so unfortunately I'm just going to have to leave one of the archive recordings for you. This is next week is the last week of morning couple meditations, because it's just too difficult for me to be here every day now. All sorts of things are happening. But I won't be here today, but Kate will be back on Tuesday. And then we'll finish with the morning couple meditations on Friday next week. Okay. Shame, but I think they've run their spell, and it's been great. But these meditations will definitely carry on. So that's good. Okay, thank you for joining me, and have a really good day, and I'll see you again soon. Lots of love to you.